Good evening, everybody. We're in Parashat Masei. That would be chapter 33 in Numbers. And the first verse starts off, Ela Masei b'nei Yisrael asher yatz'u me'eretz Mitzrayim litzavotam b'yad Moshe v'Aaron. We're going to deal with the second verse as well, but let's concentrate on this. These are the journeys of the children of Israel who went forth from the land of Egypt according to their legions under the hand of Moses and Aaron. You know what, I'm going to read the next verse too because it's going to be necessary to understand this. V'yichtav Moshe es motzoyehem l'maseihem al pi Hashem. Moses wrote their goings forth according to their journeys at the bidding of Hashem. Ve'elu maseihem l'motzoyehem. And these were their journeys according to their goings forth. So one of the things he's going to point out, at least in the second paragraph, is the difference between motzoyehem l'maseihem, going out, going forth to their journeys, as opposed to the end of that same verse, number 2, Ela ma'aseihem l'motzayehem, and these were their journeys according to their goings forth. It's a fuch, it's the opposite, right? It takes a switch up. So let's start. Ela ma'asei b'nei Yisrael, right? And these are the journeys. The word journey is the focus point here. Lefi shemoshe amar l'mala. Moses said in the previous chapter, 32, verse 13, to the children of God and the children of Reuben, the 2.5 tribes were on the other side of the Jordan. They wanted to stay over there, as we talked about last week. And Moses reiterated about the fact that Hashem made them wander in the wilderness for 40 years. V'yaniyim ba'midbar arba'im shana. He made them wander in the wilderness for 40 years. So the word va'yineim, right? What does that mean? They wandered. He made them wander. So sal kadaita chamina. Would it have come upon your mind? Shayu nadim v'noim shoche barosh chibel. You would have is this really what happened? They wandered in exile for the entire time of 40 years, just like one would be sitting, as it says in Proverbs 23:34, as you lie down in the middle of the sea, or as you lay upon the top of a mast. When you're in the sea on a boat and the mast is constantly moving, so is that what we think happened for 40 years? That their punishment or that their existence was a constant movement? And therefore, lo shaktu v'lo nachu kol arba'im shana. There was no quiet, there was no peace or rest for that entire 40 years. Al Kain Amar. That's why the our verse says, Ela Masei. These are the journeys. No, they were in the desert for 40 years, but they weren't journeying the whole 40 years. There were certain, very defined, specific journeys, as we'll see in our Parsha.
They were 38 years in one place.
That's what he's going to say. That's right. Lo marlacha, to teach you what? Sharbayim shana lo haniyam ki imem bet tnuos. You know, those 40 years, they were only journeying, they only moved 42 times. Ubezeh miyusha mashenemar, and this actually resolves why it says Ela Masei. It says these are their journeys. V'lo amar, it doesn't say Ela hachaniyot asher chanu. It does not say these are their encampments in which they camped. Keder chenemar, as we're going to see later on when the Torah lists almost all of the journeys, it uses the words v'yisu v'yichanu. Then they traveled and they parked, right? They encamped. But it doesn't say Ela shabol farish maimar, but rather it's coming to explain the statement, as we just said in last week's parsha, V'ani'eim ba'midbar, where God said, he said he made them wander in the wilderness for these 40 years. So what does this wandering for 40 years mean? Kia tenua, it's that movement, meaning hamasaot. Those movements were only these 42 specific journeys. They were not journeying the whole time. V'tam lispor kol ha'masot, and the reason for the counting of all these journeys, and Rashi writes, and I have Rashi in front of me, Rashi writes, it's to show, to inform you the kindness that Hashem had. Lama niktavu hamasos halalu, why were these journeys written? Lodia chasidov shel makom, to make known the acts of kindness of the omnipresent. Sha'afa pishagozer aleihem, even though Hashem decreed upon Israel, letatalam ulahaniam bamidbar, to move them about and make them wander in the wilderness. Lo tamar, you should not say, don't make a mistake to think. Shunoim metutalam metutalim mimase lemase, that they were just journeying around, they were moving around the whole time from one journey to another. Kol arba'im shana, the entire 40 years. Lo ha'salem menucha, and don't think they had no rest. Shere ein kan el arba'im u'shtayim masoit. We see they only had 42 journeys. And as Moshe pointed out, if you look at it closely, those first 14 were in the first year after the Exodus, before the decree to wander in the wilderness. So take away 14 out of the 42. And from the time they journeyed from that was the first 14, as we said, from the time they journeyed from Ramses until they came to Ritmah. And that was when they sent the spies. And then towards the end, there were 8 more journeys in the last year, which were after the death of Aaron. So if you take the 38 years that was between the first year and the last year, don't count the first year and the last year, just take 38 years. So they only had 20 journeys during that time, because you minus 14, you minus 8, and you're left with 20. Okay, so what did that show? That showed how merciful Hashem was, that they weren't actually traveling the entire 40 years non-stop. Okay, and then he just mentions Agav, he just mentions, by the way, that there are a lot of other explanations, and he's not going to go into any depth right now. So Moses wrote, they're going forth according to the journeys, according to the bidding of Hashem. And afterwards, as I pointed out earlier in the introduction, there's a switch up of their journeys first to their going out. And not only that, it doesn't say in that second part, Al Pi Hashem. So we have to deal with this idea that the same words are switched, and the first time they're mentioned, it's Al Pi Hashem, and the second time they're mentioned, Al Pi Hashem is missing. As far as Shalosha Panim, the Kli Yakar wants to explain this in 3 very distinct different ways. Achadhu, the first way is to explain it like this. Shemiktzat masot hafulafani. Part of their journeys, they traveled in a forward direction. They went faceward, forward. Miktasam nazaru achor. And some of these journeys were actually going backwards, where they had already been, like backtracking. Ki metchila, in the very beginning in Shmos Yudalid, that's Exodus 14 verse 2, here's some examples where they traveled backwards. It says, V'yashuvu v'yachanu lifnei hachirot. They turned back and encamped in front of this place. So you see the word V'yashuvu, they returned, they turned back. Rashi says over there, Shahachu lachoreihem litzad Mitzrayim. They went backwards in the direction of Egypt. And also in Parshas Devarim in Deuteronomy chapter 2 verse 1 it says, V'nefen v'nisa hamidbara, which means we turned and traveled in the desert. The word turning, v'nefen v'nisa. Good evening. That we turned and we traveled in the desert. The turning is going back. Perish Rashi. What does Rashi say over there? Lefi shekilkalu hachu l'tzad hamidbar. Because of the sin, because they ruined something, they did something wrong, they ruined something, they went back in the direction of the desert. V'chein b'Parshas Ekev, also in Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 6, Mi be'eros b'nei Ya'akan Moseira, that's another act of turning backwards, Shechazru Shmona Masos Lacharehem, that was the first of the 8 travels they went in the opposite direction. Nimsa, so what comes out of this? Sharov Hamasaot, that most of their journeys, a majority of their journeys, it's true, they went in the forward direction, not necessarily backwards. All those journeys are al pi Hashem, hayu al pi Hashem, nikru, and anytime you go according to Hashem, you mean you're doing the right thing. Motzayehem l'maseihem, you're going forth to your journey. Ki hafu pneim min hamakom asher yatzu misham, because they turned their faces away from the place they were leaving from, which we know where that was, Egypt. Shenikra Motzayehem, the place they're leaving from is right, Motzayem, that's what we call going forth from. Upnehem al el Maseihem asher hu lifnehem, and then their faces, they're going in the direction of their journey, which is in front of them. Avamash nazaru achor ba'avur shel kilkul bechet, but whenever they went backwards, according to what they're returning, and any time they went backwards was on account of they needed to fix something. There was a kilkul in the chet. There was a ruining through sin that needed to be fixed. But lo hayal pi Hashem, the chet itself was not pi Hashem. They went against Hashem.
They were still following on Anan when they went forward and when they went back.
Well, I'm not sure if they followed or that they followed the Anan, the clouds followed them. But okay, Hashem was with them. Even in our sin, we have a special relation with Hashem. Even in our Tumah, Hashem is still Shochen, He still dwells with us. But because the Chet was the reason they were going backwards, or it was a sin to go backwards, however you want to look at it. I think because of their sin, they had to go back. It's like when you want to go forward 2 steps, sometimes you have to walk back 1. Right? Or maybe it's you want to go back forward 3 steps, you got to go back 2. Perhaps this is it. And then what we call from their journey to their going out, which is the afuf, which is the opposite of what we originally said, that was shechazru v'nasu l'makom sheyatzu misham. That's because they went back and traveled to the place that they left from. Shenikru motzayeh, where they went out from is called from going, the place they went forth from. Ki hafku paneim l'tzad mitzrayim. Right? We got to get, what do they say? It's hard to get. It's easier to get the Jew out of Mitzrayim than to get the Mitzrayim out of the Jew. Okay, so that was the.
You can take Salem out of the country, but you can't take the country out of Salem.
Okay, it's all the same. Okay, so that's the first explanation. Then he says, "Uperush hasheni hu." The second way to explain this is when you really carefully examine this. Mashin Amar. If we look at verse 3 already, I should actually read it for you guys. It says they journeyed from Ramses in the first month. We assume a Ramses b'chodesh harishon. Now you make a comma there. B'chamisha asum yom l'chodesh harishon. On the day after, on the 15th day of the first month, Mimacharata Pesach Yatsu b'nei Yisrael biyad Ramah. The children of Israel went forth with an upraised hand before the eyes of all the Egyptians. Le'enei kol Mitzrayim. So the fact that it says Moshe Ne'emar v'yisu me Ramses, right? They traveled, they left from Ramses. Lo hisker b'nei Yisrael. In the beginning of the verse, it doesn't mention b'nei Yisrael. And afterwards it does. Baka Amar Shenis v'yisu b'nei Yisrael me Ramses. Actually, this is in verse 5. In verse 5, it says v'yisu b'nei Yisrael me Ramses v'yachanu b'sukot. So what do we have here? At one place it says they left from Ramses. So how that in verse 3, but in verse 5 it says v'yasu b'nei Yisrael me Ramses. Why in the first verse that we mentioned, 3, it doesn't say B'nai Yisrael? And then in the second verse, which is the 5th verse here, it mentions Bnei Israel. So that's like something to think about. And furthermore, what does it say in our verse 3? Mimacharat Pesach yotzu Bnei Israel. Which means what? The next day. We left on the day of the 15th, not the night of the 15th, or the night after the 14th. We didn't leave in the middle of the night. What you'd be asking yourself, there's a verse that says we did leave at night. Okay, we're going to get to that. So it says Macharat Pesach, the next day. But if you look in Deuteronomy 16:1, it says Hotzi Echa Hashem Mitzrayim Laila. What's going on here? Hashem took the Jewish people out of Egypt when? At night. So this is very typical of the Kli Yakar. He says, Elavadai she'erev rav hachu balayla derech baricha. It was the mixed multitudes. It was the non-Jewish people that Moses on his own decided to take, which we'll see shortly. The erev rav, the mixed multitudes. They're the ones that left at night in a fleeing fashion. Mamish, running away. V'aleim nemar. That's why if you look in Shmos Yudalu, it's Exodus 14 verse 5, it says, V'yugad lemelech Mitzrayim ki barach ha'am. According to the Kli Yakar, every time ha'am is used, it's always talking about the Erev Rav. So that's at night. We're talking about at night. This is Shmos Yudalit, 14 verse 5. It was told to the king of Egypt that the people had fled. But it's barach is past tense. Bo reach lo ne'amar. You would think that they're saying they're fleeing. They get to Paro and they say they already fled.
It's past perfect.
But that means they went quickly.
They had
gone, but I'm emphasizing they wanted to get out of there as quick as possible, and they left at night. But rather it says barach shekava barach miyad b'tzeitam. Mamish, they left immediately as soon as they can get out. V'zelo yitztach al Yisrael. Now you can't justify that language when we talk about the Jewish people. Why? Shrei halchu biyad ramah. They went out. I don't know what a raised hand is exactly, but let's say with an upright posture. They weren't cowering down. If that must be better words to use. But a yad ramah is upraised.
upright.
Upright. Okay. Upright. So when we were talking about Barak running, that was certainly, as we already said, the word Am. He says Shenikra b'Shem Am. When we talk about the fact that they ran out in the middle of the night, and we're using the word Am, there's no question we're talking about the Erev Rav. Avo Yisrael hachol biyom biyad Ramah. But the Jewish people, when they left, again upright. Kishenemar Kishamar.
That Paro didn't want the Erev Rav to leave.
Because he didn't act until much later.
He told Bnei Israel to leave in the middle of the night. He said, enough of this Makat Bakarot business. It's time that you get out of here. In other words, he told them to. But he didn't tell the Erev Rav.
Correct, okay.
And he was told subsequently that the Erev Rav left even before Bnei Israel.
But he didn't react.
He didn't react.
To the Erev Rav?
Maybe that's what he's saying. Maybe that's the payers. That he reacted.
But he didn't. Where did they go? They didn't chase nobody.
Yeah, but they left.
Somebody told them they left, and he didn't do anything.
Yeah, but he did. Why does it say this? Because
until 3 days later.
Yes, he wrote.
Until 3 days later.
Spies with them.
Until 3 days later.
He knew that they were leaving, and he got second thoughts about.
I don't think anybody wanted the Erev Rav. I don't think we want. Okay, except for Moshe.
What's the Erev Rav?
Let's just say they're troublemakers. Let's just troublemakers.
Okay.
Troublemakers. Let's leave it at that. We don't know much more because they're still with us today. They could be sitting in this room right now. They converted when we converted. They became Jews. They look like us.
But they were the ones that caused the trouble in the desert.
But they're still with us today, apparently, according to the Kabbalistic and mystical rabbis. Ukasha'amar, v'yisu me'ramzis b'chodesh harishon. He says, B'erev Rav hu midaber. Remember I mentioned when I read the verse and I made a comma by the word Rishon, and they traveled from Ramses. It doesn't use the word Bnei Yisrael. So that's talking about the Erev Rav. V'achar, when it says Mimacheret HaPesach, Yatzu B'nei Yisrael B'yad Ramah. It talks about the next day, daylight, the Jewish people left upright. V'achar Kach, it says, right, we said in verse 5, V'yisrael B'nei Yisrael Miramzis. That's not talking about the Erev Rav. Ki Erev Rav hafu tachila kamin hagaborchim, because they already left. They already ran out, like the way people do when you're running away from a jail. He says, like people who are fleeing. And it was only the Jewish people that actually followed them. And this is what it means when it says, V'yiktov Moshe es motzayehem l'ma'aseim al pi Hashem. It's talking about the Jewish people. Moses wrote according to their going forth, or going there out towards their journey, according to the word or bidding of Hashem. This is Nesias B'nai Israel. This is the traveling, the journeys of the Jewish people. Asher Yesodam Me'eretz Kedosha. Well, I think Yesodam here means the basic foundation and the elements of the makeup of who we are. We Jews, the B'nai Israel, our fundamental, basic place is here in Eretz Israel. And Yesodam is like the elements that make who we are. Okay.
They're basically B'nai Yaakov, B'nai Israel, who came from Canaan. So, came from Eretz Israel. The Erev Rav did not come from Eretz Israel.
Correct. There you go. So you just to emphasize the difference. Akein hafu tami p'neihem min motzayehem. I skipped something. I know, that's right. So therefore, they constantly turned their heads away from where they were leaving from. That was Egypt. Hamakom asher yatzu misham miMitzrayim. So we were always turning our faces away from there. Umegamat peneihem l'maseihem. And there was a tendency, a proclivity towards facing where we're traveling to. Jews are looking forward to this journey and to Eretz Yisrael, to come to that land that was promised to them by Hashem to their fathers. Aval ha'erev Rav, but the Harvey pointed out, when it comes to the Erev Rav, shayu mekoram miMitzrayim, their source, their place where they were hewn out from, right? Their source is from Egypt. Lo yotza al pi Hashem. And they didn't leave according to the bidding or command of Hashem. And here's where we hear that it was Moses' own idea. Ki Moshe midato hotziam. It was Moses' idea to bring them out. V'nemar behem. Regarding them, it says, Ela ma'aseyim l'motzayehem. They're the opposite of us, right? It was from their travels to their going out. Why? Ki tamid haya lehem chayfetz v'ratzon l'shuv l'mitzrayim l'mikoram. They're constantly desiring to return to the place of their source. And now here's a really interesting statement. It's in Yiddish. When I say Yiddish, I mean Aramaic. Uzrok chutra la'avira v'akare koi. I can use certain English expressions, like a boomerang, or whatever goes up must come down. Things always return to their source. The actual word zorka, like throwing a stick in the air, it's bound to come down to the ground, right? That's why they were constantly facing towards the place in which they came from, which was Egypt, and they caused a lot of trouble for us. They always wanted to go back, and we took a lot of the brunt. Okay, Parashat Shlishihu, the third explanation according to the Kli Yakar, She'imale lo chatu Yisrael. Can you imagine if Israel never sinned? If Israel had never sinned, hayu noisim b'nesia achat la'aretz. It would have been one journey from Egypt till the Holy Land, right? Freedom. That would have been it. Game over. Ba'al Amar. Now, regarding this, it says, V'yichtav Moshe es motzayim l'ma'aseyim. Moses wrote, they're going forth towards their travels. Kimin yitzia rishona lo elehem od yitzia mimakom chaniyah. See, there was no real, let's say, from their original leaving, they didn't really have any plan to do any chaniyah. Ki rotza Hashem lisotam al kanfei nesharim. God wanted just to lift them up on the wings of eagles and bring them straight in. Le'eretz miyad, immediately to the Holy Land.
Like the Teimanim.
Like that Teimanim. Va'ayidei shekilkulu, because of the sin, they ruined it. Hutrak liktov, that's why it was necessary to write. Now that's why I said in the beginning that these three are not, you can't really plug them all together. This third one seems to go against both of those other two. But rather, the phrase from their travels to their going out is not referring to the Erev Rav, but to the Jewish people themselves. Shenosu el makomos shesofam lakzor l'tzeitam misham. That they're traveling to places that in the end will they're going to go back to the place they left from. Liyot metutalim mimas lamasa, to be moved around and pack up and everything and move from one journey to another. Zeh davar lo al pi Hashem. None of that was according to the word of Hashem. So the first traveling, if they would have traveled straight through, that would have been the biddings of Hashem. But because of the sin, it's as if all the travelings from that point on were not really done al pi Hashem, because they were never meant to sin. V'zeh davar lo al pi Hashem ki lo chefetz Hashem be'elu. Hashem had no intent for all that traveling. He wants this relationship with us, and He wants to bring us back. And Baruch Hashem, we can look to the past. Of course, we have to look to the past, but we have to look to the here, now, and the future. And we're here, and we're coming home, and we're looking forward to bigger and better things.